Princess Zarathel stood by the tall windows of the council chamber, her silver skin catching the light of 3 moons. She watched another suitor's ship leave the planet's atmosphere. That made 12 rejections this month alone. "Your Highness, please understand," the latest noble had said, not even looking at her. "My family requires heirs. You cannot provide them. This is nothing personal." But it was personal. It was always personal. In the Vorian Empire, fertility was everything. It determined social rank, political power, and personal worth. Zarathel's genetic condition made her unable to bear children in the traditional Vorian way. In their society, this made her worthless. Even her title as princess could not overcome this single fact. Her father, Emperor Theron, entered the chamber. His 4 eyes showed deep sadness. "Zara, my daughter, we must find a solution." The council grows restless. They say a princess who cannot continue the bloodline is no princess at all. "Perhaps they are right, father," Zarathel said quietly. "Perhaps you should name my brother as your sole heir and release me from this burden." "Never," Theron said firmly. "You are my daughter. You are brilliant, kind, and strong. These fools cannot see your value. But I can. We will find someone worthy of you." But Zarathel knew the truth. No one in the Empire would have her. Her father had offered enormous dowries, technology, land, and titles. Nothing worked. In Vorian culture, marrying an infertile woman was considered shameful, a waste of genetic potential. She spent her evenings alone in the palace gardens, away from pitying looks and whispered conversations. The gardens were her sanctuary, filled with plants from 100 worlds. Here, at least, she could breathe. On the other side of the planet, at the newly established human embassy, Sergeant Marcus Chen reviewed his assignment orders for the 3rd time. He still could not believe it. "You want me to attend a royal reception?" "Sir, I'm a soldier, not a diplomat." The Vorians specifically requested military representatives, Colonel Hayes explained. "They respect warriors. Besides, you speak 4 languages, and you've studied xenocultural protocols. You're perfect for this." Marcus sighed. Humans were newcomers to galactic society. Only 15 years ago, humanity had achieved faster-than-light travel and discovered they were not alone in the universe. Since then, humans had been trying to establish themselves among civilizations that had existed for thousands of years. Most aliens saw humans as primitive but interesting. Some thought humans were dangerous because of their aggressive history. Others simply found them amusing. Marcus had experienced all these reactions during his 3 years in the expeditionary force. The reception was exactly as uncomfortable as Marcus expected. He wore his formal military uniform and tried not to stare at the incredible variety of alien species around him. There were beings with 6 arms, others that floated in contained atmosphere bubbles, and some that looked like living crystals. The Vorian nobility regarded him with curiosity. He heard whispered comments about the human and such short lifespans and only 2 eyes. How do they perceive depth properly? Marcus decided he needed air. He slipped away from the grand hall and found himself in an enormous garden. The plants glowed softly in the darkness, creating a magical atmosphere. He walked along a stone path, grateful for the silence. "You look as uncomfortable as I feel," a voice said in perfect English. Marcus turned and saw a Vorian woman sitting on a bench beneath a strange tree with purple leaves. Her silver skin seemed to glow in the moonlight. She wore simple robes, not the elaborate clothing he had seen on other nobles inside. "Is it that obvious?" Marcus asked, smiling slightly. "You have been standing very stiffly, as if worried you might break something," she said. There was amusement in her voice. "I am Zara. Marcus Chen. I'm with the Human Expeditionary Force." He moved closer. "Do you mind if I sit?" "Please do. It is nice to speak with someone who is not from here." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Marcus noticed. She seemed sad, though she hid it well. "So why are you out here instead of at the party?" Marcus asked. "If you don't mind me asking." Zara was quiet for a long moment. "I do not fit in there. I have a flaw. In my society, this flaw makes me undesirable. So, I prefer the gardens, where the plants do not judge." "A flaw?" Marcus frowned. "Everyone has something they struggle with. That doesn't make you flawed." Zara looked at him with surprise. "You do not even know what it is." "Doesn't matter," Marcus said simply. "Where I come from, we learned a long time ago that judging people by single characteristics is stupid. Some of humanity's greatest people had conditions or differences that others called flaws. They changed the world anyway." "Your culture sounds very different from mine," Zara said softly. "Maybe. But I think all cultures have the same basic problem. We focus too much on what makes people different, and not enough on what makes them valuable." Marcus looked up at the three moons. "I feel out of place everywhere I go. Too military for the diplomats. Too diplomatic for the soldiers. Humans are too new for the old civilizations to respect us, but too advanced for developing worlds to relate to. So I understand not fitting in." They talked for over an hour. Marcus told her about Earth, about human history and culture. Zara shared her love of science, particularly genetics and xenobiology. She was incredibly intelligent, Marcus realized. She had been studying genetic compatibility between species for years. "I should return before they miss me," Zara finally said, standing. "Thank you, Marcus Chen." This conversation was unexpected. In a good way. "Same here, Zara. Maybe we'll meet again." She smiled. A genuine smile that transformed her face. "Perhaps we will." Marcus watched her walk back toward the palace, not knowing she was the princess everyone had been talking about. Not knowing that their conversation had been observed by the emperor's advisors. And definitely not knowing that his simple kindness had just changed both of their lives forever. The next morning, Marcus was summoned to an emergency meeting with the human diplomatic team and the Vorian emperor himself. His life was about to become very complicated. Marcus stood in the private meeting room, surrounded by nervous human diplomats and stern Vorian officials. Emperor Theron sat at the head of the table, his 4 eyes focused intently on Marcus. "Sergeant Chen, do you know who you spoke with last night?" the emperor asked. Marcus felt his stomach drop. "No, sir." She introduced herself as Zara. "I didn't realize she was anyone important. She is my daughter, Princess Zarathel." The emperor leaned forward. "In 15 years of trying to find her a suitable match, you are the first person who spoke to her with genuine respect. Who did not see her condition first, and her personhood second." Colonel Hayes stepped in quickly. "Your Majesty," Sergeant Chen meant no disrespect by not recognizing. "There was no disrespect," Theron interrupted. "There was only honesty. Which is why I am making you an offer, Sergeant Chen." The emperor's expression grew serious. "Marry my daughter. In return, humanity will receive advanced propulsion technology, medical knowledge, and a permanent seat on the Galactic Council." The room fell silent. Marcus felt like he had been struck by lightning. "Your Majesty," Ambassador Rodriguez said carefully, "this is extraordinary, but perhaps Sergeant Chen needs time." "I need to speak with her first," Marcus said suddenly. Everyone turned to look at him. "With Princess Zarathel. Privately. Before I give any answer." The Vorian advisors looked shocked at his boldness, but the emperor nodded slowly. Marcus paced nervously in the small garden pavilion, where he had been told to wait. His mind raced. This was insane. Marrying someone for political reasons? That belonged in ancient history, not in the spacefaring age. But he thought about what this could mean for humanity. A seat on the Galactic Council. Technology that could save lives. His people had struggled to be taken seriously among the stars. This could change everything. You asked to see me. Zarathel's voice came from behind him. Marcus turned. She wore formal robes now, and a small crown rested on her head. She looked like a princess, but her eyes held the same intelligence and sadness he had seen the night before. You didn't tell me who you were, Marcus said. Would it have changed our conversation? She asked. Probably. I would have been more careful with my words. He smiled slightly. For what it's worth, I'm glad I didn't know. Zarathel moved closer. My father told you his offer. He did. Marcus took a deep breath. I need to be honest with you, Princess. I don't love you. I barely know you. But I respect you. From what I saw last night. You're intelligent, thoughtful, and kind. Go on, she said quietly. My superiors want me to accept. They say it's my duty to humanity. Maybe they're right. Marcus met her eyes. But I won't trap you in a marriage where you're unhappy. So, here's what I'm thinking. If we do this, we make it a partnership. We fulfill the political requirements, but we remain individuals. We support each other, but we don't pretend to be something we're not. Zarathel was silent for a long moment. You would do this? Marry someone you do not love? For your people? I'm a soldier. I've been ready to die for my people since I enlisted. This is just different. Marcus shrugged. But I won't do it if it makes you miserable. You've had enough people treating you badly. A small smile appeared on Zarathel's face. You are very strange, Marcus Chen. Most men would simply agree to gain power and status. You ask me what I want. So what do you want? Zarathel looked out at the gardens. I want to be valued for my mind, not my genetics. I want to continue my research. I want a companion who sees me as a person, not a disappointment. She turned back to him. Can you offer me that? Yes, Marcus said without hesitation. I can offer you friendship and respect. The rest, maybe it comes later, maybe it doesn't. But at least we'll be honest with each other. Zarathel extended her hand in the human custom Marcus had explained the night before. Then we have an agreement. Marcus Chen, let us be partners in this strange arrangement. Marcus shook her hand, sealing a deal that would change both their lives. The wedding was held 3 weeks later. It was a massive galactic event. Representatives from 40 species attended. The ceremony blended Vorian and human traditions, creating something entirely new. Marcus stood at the altar in his formal military uniform, watching Zarathel approach in elaborate ceremonial robes. The Vorian nobles whispered among themselves. He caught phrases like, charity case, and ignorant human who doesn't understand what he's accepting. During the ceremony, Marcus noticed something that made him angry. People congratulated him, calling him fortunate and praising his political wisdom. But no one congratulated Zarathel. No one seemed happy for her. They looked at her with pity or contempt. She stood alone in a crowd of thousands, and Marcus suddenly understood the depth of her isolation. When the ceremony ended, Marcus did something unplanned. He took Zarathel's hand and spoke loudly enough for nearby nobles to hear. I'm honored to be your husband. You're the most intelligent person I've met in this empire, and I'm lucky to be your partner. Zarathel's eyes widened in surprise. A few nobles looked shocked at his directness. But Marcus didn't care. She deserved to hear those words publicly. They were given private quarters in the palace's east wing. As they settled in, the initial awkwardness began to fade. Zarathel showed Marcus her private laboratory, where she conducted her genetic research. This is incredible, Marcus said, looking at the advanced equipment. You've been working on this alone? I had no choice. No one else would research what they consider a defect. Zarathel pulled up complex genetic models on a holographic display. But I believe my condition is not a flaw. It is simply different. Perhaps incompatible with traditional Vorian genetics, but that does not mean incompatible with everything. Marcus leaned closer, genuinely fascinated. On Earth, we have a saying: diversity is strength. Different genetics, different ideas, different approaches, they make us stronger, not weaker. Your species thinks very differently than mine, Zarathel observed. Maybe that's good. Maybe that's why this partnership might actually work. They talked late into the night, sharing stories of their worlds. Marcus told her about human history, about how his people had overcome countless biological limitations through adaptation, technology, and determination. Zarathel shared Vorian culture, explaining the complex social structures Marcus needed to understand. For the first time in years, Zarathel didn't feel alone. And Marcus, who had joined the military after losing his family and had never imagined having a real home again, felt something unexpected: a sense of belonging. 3 days after the wedding, a servant brought them wine during dinner. Marcus, trained to notice details, saw the liquid was slightly different colors in each glass. "Don't drink that," he said sharply, knocking both glasses away. The glasses shattered. The liquid hissed when it hit the stone floor, burning small holes in the surface. Poison. Someone wanted them dead. Marcus and Zarathel looked at each other, and their partnership became something more in that moment. They weren't just fulfilling political obligations anymore. They were fighting for survival together. The palace guards arrested the servant within minutes, but Marcus knew they had a bigger problem. The servant was just a tool. Someone powerful wanted this marriage to fail, and they needed to find out who before the next attempt succeeded. "We need to investigate this ourselves," Marcus told Zarathel that night in their quarters. "Whoever did this has influence in the palace. We can't trust the official investigation." Zarathel nodded, her expression determined. "I know the palace better than anyone. There are passages and rooms most people have forgotten about. We can move without being seen. Work? Good. But first, I need to teach you some basic combat skills. If someone attacks us directly, you need to defend yourself." Over the next week, Marcus trained Zarathel in hand-to-hand combat and situational awareness. She was a quick learner, her scientific mind applying the same analytical approach to fighting that she used in her laboratory. "You are thinking too much," Marcus said during one session. "Combat is about instinct and reaction. Your mind is your greatest weapon, but sometimes you need to trust your body." Zarathel adjusted her stance and tried again. This time, she successfully blocked his attack and countered smoothly. "Better," Marcus said with approval. "Much better." In return, Zarathel taught Marcus about Vorian political structures. She explained the complex web of alliances, debts, and rivalries that controlled the empire. "Lord Kesseth wanted to marry me," she explained one evening, showing Marcus holographic files she had secretly copied. "He is one of the most powerful nobles. When my father refused his proposal, he was furious." Marcus studied Kesseth's profile. The Vorian lord controlled vast mining operations and had connections throughout the military. He has the resources and motivation. But why would he want you dead now? The marriage already happened. Perhaps he wants to destabilize my father's rule. Or maybe... Zarathel pulled up another file. "Look at this. Fertility rates across the empire have been declining for the past 20 years. Kesseth has been one of the loudest voices calling for genetic purity laws and traditional values. Creating a crisis he can exploit," Marcus said, understanding dawning. "If people are afraid about fertility, they turn to leaders who promise solutions." "Exactly. And my condition makes me a symbol of what he calls genetic weakness. Having me married to an alien, producing no heirs, proves his point." Marcus looked at her thoughtfully. "Unless we prove him wrong." They began investigating Keseth's operations carefully. Marcus used his military contacts to access security records, while Zarathel used her scientific credentials to review medical data from across the empire. What they found was disturbing. These fertility treatment centers, Zarathel said, pointing to data on her screen, they all receive funding from corporations Keseth controls. And look at the success rates. They have been declining steadily. Marcus leaned closer. Could he be sabotaging the treatments? It would explain the pattern. If he makes the fertility crisis worse, he gains more political power. People become desperate, willing to accept extreme measures. Zarathel's hands trembled slightly with anger. He has been hurting thousands of people for personal gain. We need proof the council will accept, Marcus said. Hard evidence, not just data patterns. They formulated a plan. Keseth was hosting a gathering at his estate in 2 weeks. As a princess and her husband, they would be expected to attend. It was risky, but it was their best chance to find concrete evidence. During their investigation, something unexpected happened. Marcus and Zarathel grew closer. They worked together late into the night, sharing meals and conversation. Marcus found himself laughing at Zarathel's dry humor. She discovered that Marcus had a talent for seeing complex problems simply, cutting through confusion to find solutions. One evening, after a particularly long day of research, they sat together in the gardens where they had first met. I never expected this, Zarathel said quietly. When I agreed to marry you, I thought it would be a lonely arrangement, a duty we both performed. But you have become my friend, Marcus. You've become mine too, Marcus admitted. When I joined the military, I thought I had nothing to offer anyone except my service. I lost my family young and never imagined having any connection like this again. Zarathel looked at him in the moonlight. Your family? How did you lose them? Transport accident. I was 16, away at school. My parents and younger sister were traveling to visit me. Marcus's voice was steady, but Zarathel could hear the old pain beneath it. After that, the military became my family. It gave me purpose when I had none. I am sorry, Zarathel said softly. Loss is universal, it seems. I lost my mother when I was young as well. She was the only one who told me my condition did not define me. They sat in comfortable silence, two people from different worlds who understood loneliness. Marcus, Zarathel said hesitantly. My research has progressed. I have been analyzing genetic compatibility between species. The data suggests that my genetics might be compatible with other species, possibly even humans. Marcus felt his heart beat faster. That's incredible. That could change everything for you. Perhaps. But it is not certain. And it is not why I am telling you. She turned to face him fully. I am telling you because we agreed to be honest with each other. And honestly, this changes how I think about our arrangement. How? Marcus asked, though he suspected he knew. This started as a political necessity. But somewhere along the way, it became real for me. You became real for me. Zarathel's voice was barely above a whisper. I understand if you do not feel the same. You never signed up for actual feelings. Marcus reached out and gently took her hand. I feel the same way. I have for weeks now. I just didn't want to pressure you or make this complicated. Too late, Zarathel said with a small smile. It is already complicated. They both laughed, and the tension broke. But the moment of honesty changed something between them. What had begun as a partnership was becoming something deeper. The night of Keseth's gathering arrived. Marcus and Zarathel wore formal attire and played their roles perfectly. The devoted couple, naive to political schemes. Keseth greeted them with false warmth. Princess, how wonderful to see you looking so happy. And Sergeant Chen, you have adapted well to palace life. Thank you, Lord Keseth, Marcus replied smoothly. Your estate is impressive. During the party, Marcus created a distraction, while Zarathel slipped away to Keseth's private offices. She used tools Marcus had obtained to bypass the security systems. Inside, she found files that confirmed everything. Keseth had been deliberately contaminating fertility treatments with compounds that caused temporary infertility. He had been manufacturing the crisis for 20 years, slowly gaining power as people grew desperate. Zarathel copied the data quickly, her hands shaking with anger and excitement. But as she left the office, she came face to face with Keseth himself. "Princess," he said coldly, blocking her path. "You should not be here. This is a restricted area." Zarathel stood frozen, the stolen data device hidden in her robes. Lord Keseth's 4 eyes narrowed with suspicion. "I was looking for the washroom," Zarathel said calmly, though her heart raced. These old estates are so confusing. "The washroom is on the opposite side of the building," Keseth said, moving closer. "Near where your husband is currently enjoying the party. Shall I escort you back to him?" Before Zarathel could respond, Marcus appeared behind Keseth. "There you are. I've been looking everywhere. Sorry, Lord Keseth. My wife has a terrible sense of direction." Marcus moved between them smoothly, taking Zarathel's arm. His casual manner gave no hint of tension, but Zarathel felt the alertness in his grip. He knew something was wrong. "Of course," Keseth said, though his expression remained suspicious. "Do enjoy the rest of the evening." Bon. They left quickly, but not too quickly. Once they reached their transport, Marcus spoke quietly. "Did you get it?" "Yes. Everything we need." Zarathel pulled out the data device. "But he knows something. We need to move fast." "Agreed. We present this to the Galactic Council tomorrow." The emergency council session was filled with representatives from dozens of species. Emperor Theron sat with the other leaders, his expression grave as Marcus and Zarathel prepared to present their evidence. Lord Keseth sat among the nobles, looking confident. Ambassador Rodriguez whispered to Marcus before they began. "This is dangerous. If your evidence is not strong enough, Keseth will destroy you both politically. Are you certain?" "We're certain," Marcus said firmly. Zarathel approached the central platform and activated the holographic display. "Honored council members, I present evidence of a conspiracy that has harmed our empire for 20 years. She showed the data methodically. Medical records proving the treatments had been contaminated. Financial records linking the sabotage to Keseth's companies. Communications between Keseth and corrupt medical officials. The council chamber, filled with shocked murmurs. Keseth stood abruptly. "This is ridiculous. These records are clearly fabricated. The princess is desperate to prove her own value by creating scandals. And her human husband, knowing nothing of our culture, has manipulated her for political gain." His supporters began speaking loudly, agreeing with him. The chamber descended into chaos. "Order!" The council leader struck his staff against the floor. "Lord Keseth, you will have opportunity to defend yourself. But first, let them finish presenting their evidence." Marcus stepped forward. "I know I'm new to your civilization. I know humans are seen as primitive by many of you. But in my short time here, I've learned something important." He looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of various council members. "Every species values different things. Vorians value genetic strength and lineage. Humans value adaptability and innovation. The Xinthians value artistic expression. The Grexians value logical perfection. We're all different." "What is your point, human?" one of the council members asked. "My point is that despite our differences, some things are universal. Compassion, partnership, the desire to protect our people from harm." Marcus gestured to the evidence displayed behind him. Lord Keseth violated that universal principle. He hurt thousands of families for personal power. That's not a cultural difference. That's just wrong. He paused, then continued with passion. You want to know if I manipulated Princess Zarathel? I'll tell you the truth. When I married her, I barely knew her. I did it because my government asked me to, because it would help my people. Marcus turned to look at Zarathel. She's brilliant. She's been researching solutions to her people's problems, while those same people rejected her. She's kind, even to those who treated her cruelly. She's brave enough to stand here and expose a conspiracy that could have gotten her eliminated. I've learned more about true honor from her in 3 months than I learned in 10 years of military service. The chamber was silent now. Every being focused on Marcus's words. So yes, I came here as a stranger, but I'm not manipulating her. I'm standing beside her, because that's what partners do. And if you can't see her value after everything she's done, then the problem isn't with her genetics. The problem is with your vision. Several council members nodded slowly. Even some of Keseth's supporters looked uncertain. Zarathel felt tears forming in her eyes. No one had ever defended her so passionately, so publicly. She stepped forward to continue. I have one more piece of evidence to present. My own genetic research. Ra. I haven't say, Ra. She activated a new display showing complex genetic models. For years, I believed I was defective because I could not produce children in the traditional Vorian way. But my research has shown something different. My genetics are not broken, they are evolved. She explained her findings in clear terms even non-scientists could understand. My genetic structure represents a variant that may be the next step in Vorian adaptation. Instead of being compatible only with traditional Vorian genetics, my structure is potentially compatible with multiple species. This could be the key to genetic diversity that our empire needs. We have become so obsessed with genetic purity that we have blinded ourselves to other possibilities. Zarathel continued. We have rejected cross-species cooperation, genetic modification, and any deviation from tradition. Lord Keseth exploited these fears. He made the fertility crisis worse so we would become more extreme, more desperate, more willing to follow him. The evidence was overwhelming. After hours of testimony and cross-examination, the council voted. Lord Keseth was found guilty on all charges. He was stripped of his titles, his wealth was seized to compensate his victims, and he was sentenced to exile on a prison colony. As the guards took him away, Keseth glared at Marcus and Zarathel with pure hatred. This is not over, he hissed. You have made powerful enemies. It. After the trial, Emperor Theron approached his daughter publicly. The entire council watched as he knelt before her, something an emperor almost never did. My daughter, I failed you. I let society's prejudices blind me to your true worth. I treated you as if you needed fixing, when you were never broken. His voice cracked with emotion. Can you forgive me? Zarathel helped her father stand, tears streaming down her face. There is nothing to forgive, father. You protected me when others abandoned me. You never stopped believing I had value. Theron embraced his daughter, then turned to address the council. Effective immediately, I am reforming our marriage laws. Fertility will no longer determine social status or marriage eligibility. My daughter has shown us that worth comes from character, intelligence, and courage. The council erupted in discussion, but the reform passed with surprising support. That night, Marcus and Zarathel returned to their quarters, exhausted but victorious. They had won a major battle. But as they sat together, a new tension emerged between them. Marcus, Zarathel said quietly, you fulfilled your duty. The political alliance is secure. The technology transfer is complete. You could request an annulment and return to Earth with honor. No one would blame you. Marcus looked at her in surprise. Is that what you want? I want you to be free to choose, Zarathel said, though her voice trembled slightly. You never wanted this marriage originally. I will not trap you in it now. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. What about what I said today? Did you think those were just words for the council? I do not know what to think, Zarathel admitted. Everything has happened so fast. Before Marcus could respond, an alert sounded on his communication device. His commanding officer needed him back on Earth for debriefing. The message was clear. He could leave whenever he was ready. Their choice was no longer theoretical. It was real, immediate, and terrifying. Marcus stared at the message on his device. Earth Command wanted him back within the week. They were offering him a promotion, a new assignment, and the option to quietly annul the marriage with full honors. You should go, Zarathel said, her voice carefully neutral. You have done more than anyone could ask. Your people need you. What about what you need? Marcus asked. I will be fine. My status is restored. The reforms are in place. I have my research. She turned away, so he could not see her face. I always knew this was temporary. Marcus wanted to argue, but doubt crept in. Maybe she was right. Maybe now that she had her life back, she wanted her freedom too. He had been a necessity, not a choice. I'll think about it, he said finally. The next few days were awkward. They were polite to each other but distant, both afraid to say what they really felt. Marcus began packing his belongings. Zarathel spent long hours in her laboratory, avoiding their quarters. Human diplomats arrived to facilitate Marcus's departure. They praised his service and reminded him of all the opportunities waiting on Earth. Meanwhile, Zarathel received unexpected visitors. Noble suitors who had rejected her before now came offering marriage. Her genetic research had made her valuable again. Her courage during the trial had made her respected. Princess Zarathel, I must apologize for my previous rudeness, Lord Vexen said during one visit. I failed to see your true worth. I hope you will consider my renewed proposal. Zarathel looked at him coldly. Where were you when I needed support? Where were you when I was alone? You see my value now only because others told you it exists. The answer is no. That. She rejected them all. But each rejection made her more miserable, because the only person she wanted had one foot out the door already. The day before Marcus's scheduled departure, a crisis struck. Emergency alarms blared through the palace. A spatial anomaly had appeared in the upper atmosphere, causing gravitational distortions. The palace district was at risk of structural collapse. All personnel evacuate immediately, the announcement repeated, in multiple languages. Marcus was at the spaceport preparing final departure documents when he heard the news. His heart stopped. Zarathel was still at the palace. He ran to the nearest transport. Take me to the palace. Now. Sir. The area is being evacuated. It's too dangerous. Low. Now, Marcus commanded. The pilot, recognizing the authority in his voice, complied. Marcus arrived at the palace to find chaos. People were fleeing in panic. He fought against the crowd, searching for Zarathel. He checked their quarters empty. He checked the throne room empty. Then he remembered. Her laboratory. She would try to save her research. He ran through crumbling corridors as the building shook violently. Cracks appeared in the walls. Ceiling panels crashed down around him. He found her in the laboratory, frantically backing up data onto portable devices. Zara, he shouted over the noise. We have to go. My research, 20 years of work, is not worth your life. Marcus grabbed her arm. Come on. They ran together through the disintegrating palace. A support beam collapsed in front of them, blocking their path. Marcus found another route, but more debris fell, and suddenly they were trapped in a small chamber with no clear exit. The shaking intensified. Zarathel looked at Marcus with fear in her eyes, the first time he had ever seen her truly afraid. I am sorry, she said. I should have left when you found me. Now we are both. Don't, Marcus interrupted. He pulled her close. If this is the end, there's something I need to say. Something I should have said days ago. Marcus, I love you, he said firmly. Not because of duty, or politics, or obligation. I love you. I stopped seeing this as an arrangement months ago. Every morning I wake up grateful that I get to be your partner. Every night, I go to sleep thinking about how lucky I am. Tears ran down Zarathel's face. I love you too. I have been falling for you since our first honest conversation. But I thought you wanted to leave. To return to your real life. You are my real life, Marcus said. Everything else is just background noise. Then why were you packing? Why were you preparing to leave? Because I thought that's what you wanted. Marcus laughed despite their situation. I thought you deserved someone better than a soldier who stumbled into being a prince. I thought once you had your status back, you would want someone from your own world. You foolish human, Zarathel said, laughing and crying at the same time. I never cared about status. I only cared about you. They kissed as the world shook around them. Finally honest about their feelings, even as they faced potential death. Then Marcus heard something voices outside. Rescue teams. Emergency workers cut through the debris. Marcus and Zarathel were pulled from the rubble, bruised but alive. The spatial anomaly was already dissipating. The danger passing. As they stood outside the damaged palace, covered in dust and holding each other, Marcus made his decision. 3 days later, Marcus stood before the assembled Galactic Council and human diplomatic team. Ambassador Rodriguez had prepared annulment papers. His commanding officer had a transport ready. Sergeant Chen, the ambassador began. We understand you wish to return to Earth. No, Marcus interrupted. I'm declining the annulment. Shocked silence filled the room. Marcus continued firmly. When I accepted this marriage, I did it for political reasons. I didn't understand what marriage really meant. But now I do. Marriage isn't about duty or obligation. It's about choosing someone every single day. It's about partnership, trust, and love. He looked at Zarathel, who stood at the side of the room, her eyes wide. I choose you, Zarathel. Not because anyone ordered me to. I choose you because you make me better. Because when we were trapped and facing death, the only thing I regretted was wasting time pretending I didn't love you. Zarathel stepped forward. And I choose you, Marcus Chen. But I will not let you sacrifice your career for me. If you want to return to military service, I will come with you. Your dreams matter too. Emperor Theron stood. Perhaps there is a compromise. Marcus, you have proven yourself as both a warrior and a diplomat. I am offering you command of a new joint human-Vorian security force. You can serve while remaining here with my daughter. Marcus looked at Zarathel, who nodded encouragingly. I accept, Your Majesty. Thank you. The decision was made. Marcus resigned from Earth Command and accepted the new position. He and Zarathel would build a life together, not because they had to, but because they wanted to. 6 months later, Marcus and Zarathel stood in their new, shared laboratory and training facility. It was a perfect blend of their worlds, scientific equipment on one side, combat training space on the other. Zarathel's research had advanced significantly. Working with human geneticists, she was developing treatments that could help both Vorian and human fertility issues. Her work was gaining recognition across the galaxy. Marcus's security force was training soldiers from multiple species in combined tactics. His unique perspective, human adaptability, mixed with Vorian discipline, was creating something entirely new. We received another partnership request today, Marcus said, reviewing messages. The Xinthian Empire wants to join our research program. Our work is spreading faster than I expected, Zarathel said, smiling. Who would have thought that an infertile princess and a primitive human could start a revolution? Marcus pulled her close. Speaking of which, your latest compatibility research. Did you finish analyzing it? Our letter 7. Zarathel nodded, suddenly serious. Yes. The results show that with medical assistance, genetic compatibility between humans and Vorians is possible. We could have children if we wanted. Revindability. Another pifferent, way have see one of the pace, and in comedy one chenter. On 4-1-2. And do you want that? Marcus asked gently. Someday, perhaps. But Marcus, it does not matter to me either way. She touched his face tenderly. We are enough. Just the two of us. Whether our family grows or stays the same, whether we have children or not, you are enough for me. You're enough for me too, Marcus said softly. Always. They stood together, looking out at the 3 moons rising over the palace. 2 people from different worlds who had found each other against all odds, who had chosen love over duty, partnership over obligation. The galaxy had told them both that they had no value, one because of her genetics, one because of his species. But together, they had proven everyone wrong. They had shown that worth is not determined by biology or tradition. It is determined by courage, compassion, and the choice to stand beside someone through every challenge. And that was a lesson the galaxy desperately needed to learn. In an era when no one would marry the infertile alien princess, a human soldier did. Not because he had to, because he wanted to. Because he saw what others missed, that she was extraordinary, just as she was. And in finding each other, they both discovered something neither had expected. A home. The end.